I'm joined here on Deutsche Welle in Brussels by the Ukrainian Environment Minister Ruslan Strilets. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a huge day, the dam attack that has taken place. Do you have a clear understanding of what the damage is environmentally yet?
In my opinion, today we have the hugest environmental crimes, from the first day of full-scale invasion. I understand that now we have destroyed a lot of territories. We have lost national park territory. This is Nizhny Dniprovsky Reservoir. We have a lot of destroyed parts of Emerald Network, European Emerald Network in our territory. And I understand that some parts of wild nature we lost forever. So now I know just figures of some pollution of water. So we understand that maybe 600, maybe 800 tons of oil now put it into the water. Now our environmental inspection is calculating the total environmental damage. I hope that in nearest time we will have more correct figures and we will share it all over the world. This is a barbarian act. This is a real ecocide, and this is a real humanitarian catastrophe for future. We prognose this situation. Unfortunately, this is the worst plan what we try to prognose. I understand that maybe 1 million people will be without fresh water, but our governmental officials and our services, national services, do their best to correct this situation.
Russia has said that they didn't blow the dam down and they blame Ukraine. What's your response to that?
You need to understand that this territory and this dam was occupied, and Russian army blocked this territory and they controlled this dam. In September 2021, they opened the gates and they tried to fall down the water. I think that it's impossible from Ukrainian side to do anything with this dam, and no any weapons, Ukrainian weapons wasn't there. So I'm sure that this is responsibility of Russian army and this is responsibility of Putin.
How do you expect international partners like the ones here in Brussels in the European Union to bring about accountability and justice for this kind of attack, that creates this kind of damage?
First of all, I'd like to say that from the first day of the full-scale invasion, we tried to calculate all environmental damage. Now we have more than 2,400 cases of environmental crimes. The total damage is more than 52 billion euros. We use 7 new methodologies which was developed with European partners and with the experts from the United States, from the United States. And I believe that in future it will be the base to get the reparations from Russia. Now I mean I say not about all reparation, I mean environmental reparation. This is very difficult challenge, but I'm sure that we could be the first country all over the world in all wars, in all war conflict, who could get this reparation in future. The war is expensive not because of cost of vehicles, I mean military vehicles. The war is expensive because of cost of environmental.
Before the dam, before this issue, the environmental costs in Ukraine of the war have been sizable. How bad is it? You mentioned 53 billion euros already. What is being destroyed?
From the first day of the full-scale invasion, we tried to calculate all environmental damage. Now we understand that we have more than 2,300 cases of environmental crimes. Total amount of environmental damage is more than 52 billion euros. We continue a calculation of environmental damage. I understand that this is not even a half of all cases what we have in Ukraine. Every explosion of every mine, burning of forest, it's environmental damage. It's pollution of air. I always say that environmental has no border, and all countries all over the world will feel this impact on their territory. But everybody need to understand that this is a responsibility of Russia. For today, 1/3 of territory of Ukraine is mined. Ukraine is the most mined territory, most mined country all over the world. 1/3 territory of national parks under the occupation. A lot of pollutions, a lot of emissions, a lot of many tons of destroyed vehicles, military vehicles of Russian army on our territory. This is a metal scrap which we used in future for new vehicles, not for war, but for peace. We have a lot of destroyed territories like Geralgach, like Askania Nova. We lost a lot of animals, we lost a lot of fauna and flora representatives.
Do you know the level of that loss yet? Is that measured?
We don't exactly know the level of this loss because we don't have the access to this territory because of mining or sometimes because of occupation. One of the most incredible cases is the died dolphins in Black Sea. We have recorded more than 1,000 cases of died dolphins, but I understand that these figures is much higher. We know the information about explosion, the sea mines and died dolphins because of sea mines. We know the situation about impact to the dolphins from the military sonars from their military ships. And our colleagues, our partners, NGOs from Turkey, Bulgaria and other countries send this information for us. I'm sure that we need to record all the cases. We need to count all the cases and send the bill to Russians for future with Europe, with European Commission. Incredible support from the European Commission side.
Let me ask you about that, because in order to become an EU member country, which Ukraine is, planning to do, the government, this is a large part of all of this, there are very stringent new plans for greening economies. Right now, your country's at war, and the priority is, as the president has said, President Zelensky said many times, winning the war. How do you feel? Do you potentially feel that the sustainability and the green transitions that need to happen in Ukraine are put aside because of the war effort?
Only one way to make a green transition of Ukraine is to implement all European directives as quickly as possible into our legislation. Now we do our best to finish self-screening of our legislation and to send the report to the European Commission what we have now and what is our situation. Only in environmental policy we have more than 1,600 directives or some regulations what we need to screen, which we need to check and to understand how to integrate it to our legislation. This is second challenge after the war, but it's not less important than the war, than our victory. I'm sure that at the end of this year we will have a lot of implemented new regulations, and after the war we will have a new frameworks in which the development of new facilities, of destroyed manufacturers, new plants will be built in these European frameworks. But we understand that European frameworks is about no pollution, less emission, and other things. So we do our best to build these straight frameworks even today for better and greener future of Ukraine tomorrow.
Yeah, talking about a better and greener future, though, you're going to have a huge cleanup because of the dam. What plans, what possibilities do you have as a Ukrainian government to deal with the after effects? What plans can you put in place to deal with the flooding down the Dnipro River?
You know, it's difficult now to say because it's only today's accident. I'm sure that in nearest future, in some days, we will have some concrete plan. I know that our some police, Ukrainian police and Ukrainian army now make some relocation issues on this territory to save the people. But I'm sure that in future we need to develop some plan of restoration of this territory. But I will say once again that some territories will lost forever. I will say some things about forest. We have impacted 1/3 of forest of Ukraine. It's not about national parks, it's only forest. We have burned 300,000 hectares of forest. It's bigger than territory of some European countries, but it was burned or destroyed by Russian army. And I don't understand how we can restore this territory, how we can restore this territory in one day, because these trees, it grows 10, 20, 50, 80, sometimes 100 years. We can't do anything to restore it in one day, in 1 month, and 1 year. We will need some time, we will need some support, but we need to do it after our victory on the next day. Because
if what you're saying is true, why do you think the Russians are doing this? Why do you think that they are destroying the forests and causing these sort of environmental and ecological problems in Ukraine?
Because they are barbarians. They are barbarians. They don't understand that environmental is the life of people. They don't understand that they will not live without nature. And one of the situation at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, they had forest fires in Taiga, in Siberia. And they sent the helicopters to Ukrainian side to bomb in the cities, to send the soldiers. But I wanted to recommend them to stop the forest fires using these helicopters and not come to our territory for make their crimes.
Talking about crimes, how do you foresee, we talked a bit about accountability, how do you foresee any ecological crimes being brought to justice? Through Ukrainian courts, with international support? How does that happen?
We have some plan. We have the communication with General Prosecutor Office of Ukraine. Responsibility of our ministry is to communication with environmental inspection. They collect some information. They make some calculation. After that, we send these files, these cases to General Prosecutor Office. And I'm sure that all these cases will be the part of some lists of losses of Ukraine caused by the war, and about this list it was some messages from the meeting of high-level meeting in Reykjavik this year, where the head of delegation from Ukraine was Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal.
Minister Strilets, thank you so much for joining us on Deutsche Welle.